Chen Zhipeng and Zhu Xiaoqian have been good friends for many years. They have been inseparable since high school. After they got married, they still maintained the tradition of getting together once a week. However, Zhu Xiaoqian's behavior recently confused and shocked Chen Zhipeng. Every time he got together, Zhu Xiaoqian was surrounded by different beauties, which puzzled Chen Zhipeng. It was not until after a dinner that Chen Zhipeng learned that Zhu Xiaoqian had joined a mysterious wife-swapping group, seeking different life experiences by exchanging partners. Chen Zhipeng originally felt ashamed of this behavior, but under Zhu Xiaoqian's temptation and his wife's curiosity, he also joined the game. Chen Zhipeng and Zhu Xiaoqian were high school classmates and had a close relationship. On the weekend, their two families had dinner together as usual. Chen Zhipeng saw Zhu Xiaoqian with a tall beauty in a red dress, and they looked intimate. He and his wife were surprised that this guy was too bold. If his wife knew about it, she would definitely be skinned. Seeing their eyes, Zhu Xiaoqian smiled and led them to the box to sit down, and then introduced, "This is my wife Chunyi, hello." Chunyi nodded and smiled at them. Seeing her snow-white skin and delicate features, to be honest, this kind of beauty had a great visual impact on Chen Zhipeng. Chen Zhipeng's wife Liu Feifei asked Zhu Xiaoqian in surprise, "You divorced and got married again in just 1 week?" Zhu Xiaoqian smiled mysteriously and looked at the beauty next to him, which made Chen Zhipeng curious about the relationship between the two. After dinner, Liu Feifei invited friends to play mahjong. Chen Zhipeng pulled Zhu Xiaoqian and asked quietly, "You kid, tell me what's going on. If you have the ability, change your wife in a week, and I will take your surname." Zhu Xiaoqian smiled mysteriously, not shying away from the beauty next to him, and said, "I joined a wife-swapping group, damn." Chen Zhipeng was shocked when he heard the name. Chunyi said without hesitation, "You have such a good relationship with Zhu Xiaoqian, so you are trustworthy. How about we introduce you to this group? Only people who introduce you can join." Zhu Xiaoqian said with a smile, "I want to introduce you, but not only do you have to agree to this, but Feifei also has to agree." "How do you deal with your wife?" Chen Zhipeng was curious. His wife used to be very strict. Hey, now he doesn't know how happy it is to be with a handsome guy. He can't wait for me to leave and not disturb him. In fact, it was my wife who contacted me on her own initiative. I didn't know about it at first. Zhu Xiaoqian smiled and smiled. Chen Zhipeng couldn't believe it. He stole a glance at Chunyi several times. This woman is really good-looking. She is the kind of beauty that exists on the internet. Zhu Xiaoqian smiled and hung on Chen Zhipeng's shoulder and said, "Chunyi is pretty, right? If you can deal with Feifei, you can contact Chunyi's husband and experience it once. Think about it yourself. I am going to be happy with Chunyi." After that, Zhu Xiaoqian put his arm around Chunyi's waist and left, showing Chen Zhipeng his back, waving and getting in the car. Chen Zhipeng gave the two of them a middle finger, then went home and curled up on the sofa to watch videos, but Chunyi's figure always appeared in his mind, and then he thought of the scene of Zhu Xiaoqian, and such a beautiful woman lingering, and his heart was filled with infinite envy. At this time, the more he thought about it, the more he wanted it, and his body's desire became stronger and stronger, and he didn't even have the heart to watch videos. After finally waiting for his wife to come back, she didn't even wait for him to wash up, and dragged him to the living room for a big fight. After a lot of sex, his wife knew him too well and asked with a glare, "You've never done this before?" It was because Chunyi saw that his wife looked bad, and he hurriedly said, "No, I admit that Chunyi is pretty, but my wife is not bad either." Seeing his unbelieving eyes, it is true that apart from personal emotional issues, his wife and Chunyi are not on the same level in terms of appearance. Chen Zhipeng raised his hands in surrender and said, "I admit that there is indeed a relationship. Humph, you men are animals who think with your lower body." The wife got angry and went to the bathroom. Chen Zhipeng quickly followed her and changed the subject. Do you know what the relationship between Zhu Xiaoqian and Chunni is? Humph, there could be any other mistress. I didn't expect him to be so bold and dare to show it to us. I misjudged Zhu Xiaoqian. I thought he was a henpecked husband. The wife obviously had a bad impression of Zhu Xiaoqian. It wasn't Zhu Xiaoqian. He said it was wife swapping, and it was his wife who took the initiative to bring it up. Chen Zhipeng deliberately said it to see his wife's reaction. Sure enough, when she heard this, his wife stopped taking a shower, with an unbelievable look on her face. Then her face sank and she pointed at Chen Zhipeng and shouted, "Okay, Chen Zhipeng, do you want to swap too? It wasn't my wife. Don't think about it in the wrong way. I'm just eating melons. You don't want to see this explosive news." Chen Zhipeng quickly responded. His wife snorted and continued to wash. Chen Zhipeng tried his best to serve him, make him happy, and let his wife put down her face before she got better. When they lay down together and prepared to go to bed, his wife suddenly asked, "Did Jia Jia really bring it up?" Unexpectedly, his wife showed interest. Chen Zhipeng pretended to be not very interested in response to the question. He also said that Jia Jia is now hanging out with a handsome guy and has long forgotten Zhu Xiaoqian. I didn't expect Jia Jia to be such a person. Don't think about it. This is immoral. Facing Chen Zhipeng's warning, his wife said, "I was just curious and ate melon. Today is a normal reaction for men. You see, I have been waiting for you at home, proving that no matter how tempted I am, I will look for my wife." Chen Zhipeng said seriously, then hugged his wife and continued to sleep. Humph, this is better. In the future, don't have much contact with Zhu Xiaoqian, lest you lose control. His wife pointed her finger at Chen Zhipeng's forehead and said, "As long as you are in control, it's useless for me to think about it, right? They are just exchanging husbands and wives. Let's go to sleep. This matter is just a melon. It will pass with a smile." After Chen Zhipeng continued to sleep for a few days, Chen Zhipeng gradually forgot about this matter, and lost the expectation at the beginning. On the afternoon of the third day, Zhu Xiaoqian asked Chen Zhipeng to drink tea. They usually drink tea and chat. Zhu Xiaoqian's house also has a tea room. When Chen Zhipeng walked into the room, he saw Chunni was there. She was wearing a white plum blossom kyongsam, which matched her snow-white skin, adding a classical beauty. She sat there elegantly to make tea, which made Chen Zhipeng feel that his heart was stabbed. Zhu Xiaoqian waved and said, "Zhipeng, come here." Chunni brought a can of red plum tea, which tasted super good. It was said that it was more than 10,000 yuan per kilogram. "Come and try it." Chen Zhipeng walked over and sat down. Chunni smiled and poured a cup for Chen Zhipeng, saying, "Mr. Chen, try my tea art. My family used to grow and make tea, so we know a thing or two about tea art." "Thank you." Chen Zhipeng picked up the teacup and took a sip. It turned out that this black tea had a mellow taste, with a hint of plum blossom fragrance in the tea fragrance. Good tea and good craftsmanship, this is not just a little knowledge, it can be regarded as a master. Chen Zhipeng also knows a little about tea art, and he praised her repeatedly, which made him like Chunni even more. This is not a vase, but a person with real talent and knowledge. Looking at her conversation and behavior, she feels like a lady from a noble family. Chen Zhipeng's heart was pounding, and he wondered how much incense Zhu Xiaoqian had burned in his previous life to be able to spend a night with such a top-notch woman. His heart, which had been calm these days, was now in turmoil again, even stronger than before. "Zhipeng, have you thought about this? Do you want me to introduce you in?" Zhu Xiaoqian put down his teacup and asked, and Chunni also looked at Chen Zhipeng's healthy eyes, which made people's hearts rippling and their hearts fluttering. Chen Zhipeng sighed and said, "What's the use of thinking about it myself? I mentioned it to my wife, and it almost exploded. You are not as lucky as me, and every family took the initiative to find you. It's a pity. In fact, it was Chun's idea to ask you to come for tea this time. Zhu Xiaoqian's words surprised Chen Zhipeng, and he looked at Chun. He found that Chun's face was slightly red, and he was obviously a little shy, which made him more tempting. He glanced at Chen Zhipeng and said, I had a good impression of you last time. You also know that we are exchanging, so there is no need to hide it. It's like tasting tea. Hearing this, Chen Zhipeng's heart was in his throat. If he refused such a beautiful woman, who invited him to spend a good night together, 99% of the men in the world would not be able to do it. Chen Zhipeng looked entangled, thinking about how to get past his wife. Suddenly, Chun came over and put her hand on Chen Zhipeng's shoulder. He immediately felt a unique fragrance coming towards him. Mr. Chen, I believe that you can convince your wife with your ability that women's thinking should not be outdated, and we also have the right to pursue our own happiness. Looking at the classical beauty in white Kyeongsam in front of him, Chen Zhipeng's heart beat violently, but it was his wife's problem that made Chen Zhipeng embarrassed. Chen Zhipeng didn't even dare to speak about this matter, let alone persuade her. Chun was sitting next to Chen Zhipeng at this time, and the wonderful taste was really wonderful. This can only be achieved after years of persistent exercise. Such a beautiful figure is impossible for most women to have. Mr. Chen, for me, can't you work hard? I really want to taste Mr. Chen's. Zuyang leaned on Chen Zhipeng's shoulder, and Chen Zhipeng was in a state of rest. At this moment, Chen Zhipeng's mind only had the idea of a spring night with Chun. He kept nodding and gritted his teeth and said, I will find a way, then I will stay with Mr. Chen. Good news, Chun happily kissed Chen Zhipeng on the face, which completely made Chen Zhipeng sink, and no longer cared about Zhu Xiaoqian next to him. As a result, the woman laughed, got up first and left Chen Zhipeng's arms, walked to Zhu Xiaoqian, sat in his arms and said, Mr. Chen, now Zhu Xiaoqian and my husband are in a state of exchange, this week I belong to him. This is not over yet. The two of them were actually making out in front of Chen Zhipeng, which made Chen Zhipeng furious again. He said something and got up and went home. That night, his dreams were full of spring mud, which made Chen Zhipeng feel bad the next day, and he had no mind for work. After get off work in the afternoon, Chen Zhipeng gritted his teeth and found Zhu Xiaoqian, asking him to help Chen Zhipeng find a solution. If he asked directly, his wife would definitely disagree and beat him up. After discussion, they decided to let his wife know about the wife-swapping group first, and sent him videos of several handsome people in the group as group advertisements. That night, Chen Zhipeng and his wife were lying on the bed watching videos. Chen Zhipeng took the opportunity to go to the toilet and used the mobile phone given by Zhu Xiaoqian to send him an advertisement on WeChat. Chen Zhipeng secretly lay at the door of the toilet to observe his expression and found that he was laughing while watching the video, but suddenly the laughter stopped, which made Chen Zhipeng nervous. After a while, his wife suddenly got out of bed and came over, and Chen Zhipeng hurried back to the toilet and squatted. The wife walked in and looked at Chen Zhipeng, and said unhappily, Going to the toilet is so noisy, hurry up, I need to go. Chen Zhipeng immediately said, after finishing, flush the toilet and go back. After going to bed, he heard his wife sitting on the toilet in the bathroom. Chen Zhipeng immediately sent him another message from the wife-swapping group, and then listened to the movement inside, and only sent 2 messages. Hearing the sound of flushing the toilet, Chen Zhipeng quickly stuffed the phone into the bedside table. At this time, his wife's face was slightly red. This day, his wife was more active than before, and he was almost the one who took the initiative, but she didn't say a word about that matter. This lasted for 2 days. Chen Zhipeng sent her messages every few hours, and his wife didn't delete the number. Except for the need every day when she came back from get off work, there was almost no change. This made Chen Zhipeng anxious, and he asked Zhu Xiaoqian for help again. Zhu Xiaoqian said that only by using the killer to ask the handsome guy in the video for help, not many women could escape his hands. This made Chen Zhipeng hesitate. If he had sent his wife to another man's arms, Chen Zhipeng would have definitely beaten the man to death if he had heard this before. But this time, Chen Zhipeng actually hesitated. He couldn't get over this hurdle in his heart. Seeing Chen Zhipeng's hesitation, Chunna sat beside Chen Zhipeng, leaned on Chen Zhipeng's arms and whispered, "Mr. Chen, don't make me wait too long. And you've also seen the video. There are many beauties in our group who are no worse than me. Don't you want to meet all the beauties? You see, Zhu Xiaoqian has already contacted the next couple this weekend." Zhu Xiaoqian nodded proudly and clicked on the video on his mobile phone. Akasa appeared wearing sexy clothes from anime, and she was also beautiful, like someone who walked out of the two-dimensional world. This time Chen Zhipeng did not hesitate anymore and asked Zhu Xiaoqian to date the handsome guy. On Friday night, Chen Zhipeng brought his wife to the restaurant. As soon as they entered the door, they saw that the handsome guy was from their community. He was indeed very handsome. When his wife saw him, she immediately blushed and held Chen Zhipeng's hand tightly. Zhu Xiaoqian asked them to sit down. This time Zhu Xiaoqian's wife also came. After the introduction, they found out that Chunni was actually the wife of the handsome guy. After everyone sat down, the wine and food came, and they began to eat and drink. They talked about their respective careers. Everyone looked for opportunities to help each other make money, and Chen Zhipeng hardly spoke except his wife. With his personality, he was definitely the protagonist of this topic of making money, and he was originally considered a half-strong woman. When they persuaded each other to drink, almost everyone drank a bottle of rice wine, and the three women also drank with each other. During this period, his wife secretly looked at him several times, and Chen Zhipeng smiled and told him that they were all family members, so there was no need to worry, and he could drink as much as he could. He sighed and glanced at Chen Zhipeng, and then drank with everyone. Chen Zhipeng knew his wife's alcohol tolerance, and when he saw that he had almost finished drinking, he asked him to stop. As a result, Liu Feifei continued to drink, and drank 2 bottles of rice wine. In the past, he only drank 1 bottle at most. At this time, Zhu Xiaoqian's wife began to whisper to Feifei. The two were very familiar with each other. After a conversation, the wife looked at Chen Zhipeng again, and Chen Zhipeng looked at her nervously and expectantly, but did not say anything. Finally, he nodded. At that moment, Chen Zhipeng's heart was full of excitement and expectation. Then he brought his drunk wife to the hotel, and the handsome guy and Chunni also opened 2 rooms together. After arriving at the door, the handsome guy supported him, and his wife nodded to him and walked into the room. His wife leaned on the handsome guy's shoulder and opened her eyes to look at him. Chunni was also half drunk and leaned on his shoulder. That look made Chen Zhipeng feel guilty and even guilty, but his wife did not resist at all and followed the handsome guy into the room. At this time, Chunni took Chen Zhipeng into the room and the door closed automatically. They kissed each other directly. After a while, she said in a charming voice, "Zhipeng, you made me wait so hard. I can see that you are waiting so hard too. Come on, let's go crazy tonight." Chen Zhipeng could no longer restrain himself and put everything behind him. Chen Zhipeng felt that he had never been so excited before. They didn't fall asleep until the early morning, and when they woke up the next day, they found the house in a mess. But after getting up, Chunni didn't blame him at all. Instead, she kissed him gently and said, "Mr. Chen, you are great, looking forward to meeting you next time." After that, he got up and washed up. After walking out of the bathroom, he became an elegant and dignified woman again. He smiled at Chen Zhipeng and left. To be honest, there are really few men who don't like such a woman. At this time, Chen Zhipeng thought of his wife and quickly put on his clothes, not caring about washing up and going to the next room. The handsome guy also smiled and nodded to Chen Jipeng elegantly, saying, "Mr. Chen, your wife is a very charming woman. I will never forget this experience. I look forward to meeting you next time." Chen Jipeng shook hands with him and said, "Thank you for your compliment. Your wife is the most elegant and beautiful woman I have ever seen. I look forward to the next time as well." After they left, Chen Jipeng couldn't wait to run into the room. He just saw his wife coming out of the bathroom and had finished putting on makeup. He just looked at Chen Jipeng like this. Not a single word made Chen Jipeng panic, and he couldn't speak. He suddenly smiled and walked in front of Chen Jipeng, helped Chen Jipeng tidy up his clothes, and said gently, "Do you like it very much?" "Yes, I'm sorry." Chen Jipeng just opened his mouth, and he interrupted and said, "I feel very good. I can choose him again next time. If it's someone else, I have to see what the other person looks like first." Hearing this, Chen Jipeng was ecstatic, picked up her and kissed her hard on the face. "Okay, I still have work today, so I'm leaving first. Wife?" After saying that, he picked up the bag on the hanger at the door and left. "Yes?" Chen Jipeng was ecstatic. Thinking of Chun's perfect figure and elastic skin, Chen Jipeng couldn't wait to look forward to the next one, and left the hotel. Chen Jipeng immediately contacted Zhu Xiaoqian. As soon as the call was connected, he smiled and said, "How is it? Is it good?" "Nonsense. Hey, your idea is great." My wife agreed. "Please introduce me to the girl you showed Chen Jipeng yesterday." Chen Jipeng was excited and looking forward to it again. "This girl is very beautiful, and has a completely different style from Chunni. To be honest, I would be willing to live a few years less if I could have a kiss with such a beauty. I knew you were thinking about it. I helped you inspect the goods last night. That's really good, and he's not too old. Okay, stop talking, let's have dinner tonight." Chen Jipeng said excitedly, "That's no problem, this girl doesn't have a boyfriend, it costs money to date her. But I still suggest you don't do it in a row, save up for 2 days and then come back, it's worth it." Zhu Xiaoqian said, "Save up for nothing, you're just over 30, do you need this body? Make an appointment." Having tasted the sweetness, Chen Jipeng didn't care about this anymore. For more than a month, they made appointments in the group every day, and most of the people were replaced. Every day, except for lunch time at work, they would choose targets in the group, make appointments for dinner, and then exchange. On this Sunday morning, Chen Jipeng hummed "Little Brother" and returned home from the hotel. As soon as he entered the door, he received a call from Zhu Xiaoqian. His tone was full of despair, and he choked and said, "Jipeng, I have an infectious disease, I was shot, did I go to the hospital?" "Don't worry, these hospitals can easily solve it now." Chen Jipeng comforted. "I have AIDS." When he said this name, Zhu Xiaoqian burst into tears. It sounded like he was crying in the stairwell, and there was an echo. Hearing this name, Chen Jipeng was shocked and asked, "What did the doctor say? Can the current technology control it?" "It can only be controlled temporarily, and it cannot be cured. It may break out at any time. Treatment requires a lot of money. I have spent all my savings in the past few months. Can you lend me money?" This made Chen Jipeng break out in a cold sweat. It was not that he was unwilling to lend money, but he realized that he had spent a huge amount of money in the past month. Think about those very beautiful women, all of whom are single. The minimum amount of money they need to spend is 5,000. Chen Jipeng hurriedly checked his bank account with his mobile phone and found that only tens of thousands of the more than 300,000 he had saved with great difficulty were left. Chen Jipeng sighed and began to feel some regret for this kind of thing. Zhu Xiaoqian's experience also made Chen Jipeng alert. "Xiaoqian, I can probably give you 30,000. I am also almost out of my savings." Chen Jiping answered helplessly and drove to the hospital for examination, fearing that he would have problems. Hearing that there were only 30,000, Zhu Xiaoqian said in a low voice, "Thank you, I'll come right away, wait for me." After hanging up the phone, Chen Jiping rushed to the hospital and saw Zhu Xiaoqian. He was pale, not as cool as before, and his eyes were full of panic. "Xiaoqian, why didn't your wife come?" Chen Jiping asked. He should have contacted his wife as soon as possible. When it came to this, Zhu Xiaoqian punched the wall and didn't care about the skin on his hand being rubbed. He gritted his teeth and said, "He left after he was diagnosed with AIDS yesterday. He called me this morning and said he wanted to divorce me. You should deal with the medical issues first, and I will go for a checkup." Chen Jiping is also nervous now, fearing that something will happen to him. Zhu Xiaoqian understands that at least his brother has come, and he feels much more stable and goes to find a doctor. Chen Jiping rushes to do a series of examinations. Fortunately, everything is normal. He breathes a sigh of relief and then goes to contact Zhu Xiaoqian. When he sees him, he looks even more haggard. Chen Jiping knows that he must have received bad news. He looks at Chen Jiping and trembles slightly, and says that the doctor said that the initial medical expenses will be at least 300,000 yuan, and there will be a series of treatments later, so that the survival period can exceed 10 years. But it may cost more than 1 million yuan for treatment. Hearing this, Chen Jiping is also shocked. This is not something that ordinary people can afford. "I have less than 50,000 yuan left. I will give you 30,000 yuan, and I will eat the rest." After Chen Jiping grabbed the money and gave it to him, Zhu Xiaoqian reluctantly smiled at Chen Jiping, then said thank you and left. Chen Jiping wanted to help him, but he was really powerless at the moment. When he walked out of the hospital, he felt a little depressed and called his wife and said, "Fei Fei, let's leave the wife-swapping group in the future." "Why?" his wife asked puzzledly. "Qianqian has contracted AIDS, and our savings have disappeared during this period." After Chen Jiping said this, his wife was silent for a long time, and he just replied calmly, "I know." At this moment, Chen Jiping was still worried about Zhu Xiaoqian and didn't care that his wife's tone was wrong. When he returned home, he saw his wife sitting in the living room. At this moment, she was in a bad mood and had no intention of cooking. She was going to go out and eat something casually. His wife suddenly said, "Jiping, the savings are really gone." "Well, you know the total amount. We have spent a lot in the past month." After hesitating, his wife looked at Chen Jiping and said, "Let's sell the house." Chen Jiping widened his eyes in surprise and asked, "Are you crazy? If the house is sold, where will we live? We can rent a house. Zhu Xiaoqian needs a huge sum of money for treatment, aren't you good brothers? Are you going to watch him die?" His wife's tone was calm, and it was completely impossible to hear that she meant to save people. Chen Jiping felt something was wrong and frowned and asked, "What's wrong with you? This house is paid by our parents. It's nothing to spend their savings for most of their lives. Do you think your brother's life is not as valuable as the house?" The wife looked at Chen Jiping indifferently. "That's not what I meant. If it was just me, I would definitely sell it without hesitation, but this house is ours." Before Chen Jiping finished speaking, his wife rushed to say, "I agree." Chen Jiping was completely dumbfounded. Looking at his eyes, he felt strange. He asked again, "Are you sure?" "Of course, I know that you brothers have a deep affection for each other. You even share women, let alone money." The wife said, "Let me think about it." Chen Jiping was a little irritable and walked to the bedroom. He didn't even want to see his wife's appearance. Chen Jiping had trouble falling asleep all night. He tossed and turned in bed. His wife slept quietly beside him, as if nothing had happened. At dawn, Chen Jiping fell asleep unconsciously. Suddenly, a phone call woke him up. It was almost 11 o'clock. Chen Jipeng answered the phone and heard Zhu Xiaoqian's choking voice. Jipeng, I sold the house in the community this morning, and the money was taken away by my wife. Damn, is that woman still a person? She even cheated you out of your life-saving money. How could you be cheated so easily? Chen Jipeng screamed and suddenly woke up. I planned to sell the house for medical treatment and need his signature. I told her last night that the house would be sold and the money would be half and half, and then I agreed to divorce. This morning I sold the house at a low price. As soon as I finished the formalities, I don't know how he secretly transferred the money from my card. You didn't hold her back? Chen Jipeng asked angrily. There were two powerful men around him who knocked me down in one go. Then you should go to the police and freeze his personal account. Chen Jipeng yelled, I have called the police. The police checked his account and the money was not with him. This woman colluded with others. The police are checking the whereabouts of the money. The police officer in charge of the case said that the other party was very skilled and was a repeat offender. The money may have been transferred abroad. This matter can only rely on the police. How long can your physical condition be delayed? Chen Jipeng asked. The doctor said that the sooner the treatment, the better, but I have no money now. My parents can only get 100,000 yuan, which is not enough. At this point, Zhu Xiaoqian started crying. Chen Jipeng didn't know what to do. He went to work with a depressed mood. When he got home from get off work, his wife sent a text message and didn't come back at night. Chen Jipeng knew that he must have made an appointment with a handsome guy. He was inexplicably angry and called his number and yelled, You are still in the group. There must be a lot of people infected with AIDS. Don't you want to live? Do you think I'm the same as you, meeting one after another? Just take care of yourself, don't mind my business. After the wife finished speaking, she hung up, and Chen Jipeng was so angry that he cursed. But it was she who led him to this road, so he had no right to say anything. He could only sulk at home. After more than a month, his wife didn't mention anything about selling the house. Instead, she sometimes asked about Zhu Xiaoqian. He had returned to his hometown. The news from the police fell into the sea, and there was nothing they could do. That day, Chen Jipeng suddenly received a call from Zhu Xiaoqian's family, saying that Zhu Xiaoqian was critically ill and wanted to see Chen Jipeng. Hearing this, Chen Jipeng was shocked. He didn't expect it to be so fast, so he quickly told his wife to rush over. As a result, his wife also drove with Chen Jipeng and arrived at the county hospital in his hometown. They saw Zhu Xiaoqian lying on the hospital bed, his face was pale, and a tube was inserted into his abdomen. His parents looked extremely haggard, and his mother's eyes were swollen from crying. Chen Jipeng walked over and called Xiaoqian. Zhu Xiaoqian opened his eyes and saw Chen Jipeng forced a smile and said, Don't go anymore. Brother, give me a ride. Why is it so fast? It shouldn't be. Chen Jipeng asked incomprehensibly. This was a young man who had been comforting Zhu Xiaoqian's mother. He shouted angrily, What kind of excessive treatment can harm the people's money? These bastards are just trying to make money and kill people. Zhu Yang, don't talk nonsense, the hospital will kick your brother out. Zhu Xiaoqian's mother cried. Zhu Xiaoqian's father said. It's not the hospital's fault. There are some treatment plans, but they all require a lot of money. We can't come up with traditional methods, and they are not very effective. The doctor has told us, but we can't just watch Xiaoqian and ignore him. At this time, the wife suddenly said, Jipeng, let's sell the house and transfer to the provincial hospital. There is still a chance of saving him. Hearing this, Chen Jipeng was surprised, and so were Zhu Xiaoqian's family members. How could Chen Jipeng refuse at this time, and it was his wife who proposed it. Seeing Zhu Xiaoqian's look, Chen Jipeng finally nodded helplessly, and then Chen Jiping asked Zhu Xiaoqian to wait for Chen Jiping, and they returned to the provincial capital to sell the house. Chen Jiping couldn't understand why his wife was so soft-hearted. Now seeing Xiaoqian's look, Chen Jiping really couldn't bear it. Even if he had many doubts in his heart, he could only suppress them. This time, they sold the house in 2 days and got more than 3 million, which they divided equally. His wife said that she would find a rental house and move, and asked Chen Jiping to save people. Chen Jiping returned to the county town where Zhu Xiaoqian was from, and helped them transfer to the hospital. Then he accompanied them all the way, and helped pay all the expenses. His parents were very grateful, and Chen Jiping just smiled reluctantly. He felt mixed emotions in his heart. He really wanted to save his brother, but he also felt sorry for so much money. After Zhu Xiaoqian went through a series of treatments and his condition stabilized, a total of more than 500,000 yuan was spent. Chen Jiping said goodbye to his family and contacted his wife again. As expected, no one answered the call. Chen Jiping smiled bitterly. In fact, when he first proposed to sell the house, Chen Jiping had already noticed it. Perhaps it was the only glimmer of luck left, and he also thought that it was his own fault. Fortunately, there were still hundreds of thousands of yuan left in his hands. Chen Jiping sent him a text message, saying that if he needed to go through the divorce procedures, he could contact him at any time. Chen Jiping didn't know whether he would receive this number, and he would keep it. After that, Chen Jiping went to work steadily and rented a room near the company. 2 months later, Zhu Xiaoqian's body had recovered and was no different from ordinary people. He just needed to take medicine for a long time and pay attention to physical health problems. The two of them lived together and ran every day after work. On this day, Chen Jiping was busy in the office and received a text message from an unknown number on his mobile phone, saying, "Husband, save me, number 114, Nanhua Street." Seeing this, Chen Jiping was startled and hesitated before running to Zhu Xiaoqian's office to show him the text message. Zhu Xiaoqian always hated the woman who ran away. He hated Chen Jiping's wife when she left. He even hated her more than his own wife ran away with the money. "You are stupid. You still care about this woman. You don't even know who the number belongs to. If you really can't bear it, you can call the police at most," Zhu Xiaoqian said angrily. Chen Jiping hesitated and agreed. The police are more professional in this kind of thing. He called the police and they said they would go to check. About an hour later, the police gave him feedback on the investigation and found that it was an old house where no one lived. He asked the neighbors and found that the owner had left for almost 10 years. The house had been empty and the things inside were rotten. The police searched it and found nothing. After Chen Jiping expressed his gratitude, he was restless until noon. He didn't care about eating after work. He immediately drove to number 114 Nanhua Street. When he arrived here, it was just as the police said. No one had lived there for a long time. There were plants growing inside, and even the doors and windows were rotten. After Chen Jiping entered through the window, there were many traces of human activities inside. It is estimated that homeless people would come here sometimes, and there would be a lot of household garbage. No wonder the police could not find anything. At this time, Chen Jiping found an earring on the counter next to him. It seemed that the original owner had put it here. Because homeless people had lived here, it was impossible to judge from the traces. But Chen Jiping was familiar with this earring. It was Feifei's. It was given by Chen Jiping on their first anniversary of marriage. Picking up this earring, Chen Jiping took out his mobile phone to call the police again. Suddenly, he was hit on the back of his head and fell down. He felt dizzy and completely lost control, but his consciousness was still clear. He vaguely saw a man in tattered clothes standing next to Chen Jiping, and put Chen Jiping in a sack. At this moment, Chen Jipeng was desperate. At this time, he heard Zhu Xiaoqian's cry, and then heard the sound of scuffling. Chen Jipeng burned with hope, shook his head desperately to restore his sense of balance, and struggled to get out of the sack. Hearing this, the police captain showed a look of joy, and quickly took them back to the police station, and asked the police to take the homeless man away. "Police comrade, I live here. I thought this man was a thief, so I beat him up." However, the criminal police captain ignored it and took all three of them back. Chen Jipeng and Zhu Xiaoqian were taken to the office of the criminal police. After she closed the door, she said, "The 7 groups are an organized fraud gang. I have been tracking them for half a year. They are very clever. We have no substantial clues. This time we finally found the victim. Tell me in detail about your experience." Chen Jipeng and Zhu Xiaoqian were surprised that they had never found the victim. They did not hide anything, including that their wives ran away with the money after selling the house. After hearing this information, the captain looked at the document, nodded and said, "It's just as we guessed. This organization does not harm any group members. They use beauty to make them spend money voluntarily. It looks like a transaction between group members. In fact, those particularly beautiful and handsome men and women are organized by them to lure single rich people to spend money. You couples have become their free tools to let the rich have fun, and they think they have earned money. Even their organization members spend money in high-end places, which is also their interest. You and those local tyrants will spend money willingly without knowing it. Because no coercion or violence is used, you don't realize that this is a fraud organization, and simply think it is a wife-swapping group. Because of this, and because this kind of thing is difficult to talk about, there will be a situation where no victims are willing to call the police." Chen Jipeng asked hurriedly, "Why did my wife ask me for help?" "Don't get excited first. Our colleagues have already started tracking, and this homeless man is very likely their accomplice. We will definitely find your wife." The police comforted him. Chen Jipeng repeatedly thanked the medical staff at the police station for their help. After emergency treatment of the wound, he was sent to the hospital for treatment. The doctor said that Chen Jipeng had a serious concussion, and the company also gave Chen Jipeng a week off. After 5 days of recuperation, the police called Chen Jipeng to identify him. Chen Jipeng and Zhu Xiaoqian rushed to the police station. Among the women arrested, his wife Liu Feifei was seen. When she saw Chen Jipeng, she immediately rushed over and hugged her and cried, "I'm sorry, husband, I was wrong, I was wrong." Seeing that she was fine, Chen Jipeng was relieved, hugged her and smiled, "It's okay, it's good that you're okay." The policeman came over last time and said, "Mr. Chen, although Liu Feifei is a victim, he later also participated in fraud and could not escape legal sanctions. You can hire a lawyer for him. Police comrade, he must have been forced. If he hadn't asked me for help, I wouldn't have found these people at all. This is considered a meritorious service." Chen Jipeng hurriedly said, "I will write this matter truthfully in the report, and the final result will still be subject to the court's decision, but don't be too nervous. In Liu Feifei's case, the forced situation is greater than the subjective crime, and it will not be too serious. If you find a good lawyer, you may be acquitted or released on bail." The policeman said, "Thank you." After Chen Jipeng thanked the policeman again and again, he said to Liu Feifei, "Don't worry, my wife, I will find a lawyer for you, and I won't let you go to jail." Liu Feifei nodded with tears in her eyes. At this time, Chen Jipeng saw Chunni, who looked calm. Seeing Chen Jipeng looking at her and smiling slightly, Chen Jipeng just nodded. After all, one night of marriage lasts 100 years. Then he went to find a lawyer. This case involved a wide range of people. It took more than 4 months to investigate and collect evidence. In the end, the court sentenced Chen Jipeng's wife to 6 months in prison. Because she had been in prison for more than 4 months, she was allowed to be released on bail for more than a month. During this period, she could not leave the city. Zhu Xiaoqian's wife was unexpectedly one of the core members, and was sentenced to more than 8 years in prison. What surprised Chen Zhipeng the most was that Chun'e was the leader of this organization, and was directly sentenced to death. There were too many people involved, the amount had exceeded 3 billion, and there were interests in a large number of high-consumption places. When he took his wife back to their rental house, he cried as soon as he entered the door, hugged Chen Zhipeng tightly and said, "Husband, thank you for giving me a home." Chen Zhipeng smiled, hugged him and said, "It should be me who apologized. It was me who was obsessed with sex and pushed you into the abyss. Wife, although we don't have a house now, I promise that I can earn back a house that belongs to us in 10 years. Well, I will work hard together. As long as you are there, it is home." They hugged each other tightly. At this moment, they both felt the importance of each other. Maybe this time, they lost money, and bought back something more precious.